Hello and welcome to another episode of Retrospective Gaming. In this episode I am reviewing Fallout 1.5 Ressurection. I was supposed to review this a couple of months ago, but I waited for the 1.5 patch to come out. So thank you for your patience. I have been getting so many requests to review this and I'm finally doing it. And, just a warning, there are spoilers in this video. Now, let's move on to my review of Fallout 1.5 Ressurection. The story starts off in the year 2170. This game takes place after Fallout 1, but before Fallout 2, hence the name 1.5. Now, your character wakes up in a cave, confused because you don't know what's going on and you don't know who you are. All that you have is this emblem, but you don't know what it represents. As you further progress through the story, you end up running into teams of ghouls who are trying to kill you. You are marked for death apparently, but you don't know why. They know who you are, but you don't know who they are. So, after this event happens, you now know what you must do. You have to find out who you are, and you have to find out who is trying to kill you, and why. And that is how Fallout 1.5 Ressurection starts off. Now, I give respect to the people that worked on this mod. The story is excellent, and this is one thing that I made sure not to forget in this review. I think Fallout is at its best when it explores the gray area in a way that we can understand, a smart way, and certainly not a forced way. And I think Fallout is at its best when it doesn't have hokey, campy, superhero versus supervillain type storylines. And I think Fallout 1.5 Ressurection explores this area, and I think they did a pretty good job with that. And the factions are a good example of why I think this game has an excellent story. Now, I'm not going to spoil everything, but let's look at some of them. The super mutant hunters are defending their town, they are defending themselves, and they see every super mutant as a problem, and if anyone shows signs of mutation, they will kill them. At face value, you might think the super mutant hunters are just pure evil, but once you learn more about the situation, you understand it's not black and white. After the master died, his children, also known as the super mutants, they were confused and they started going on a rampage, so you can understand why the super mutant hunters are paranoid. They have every right to be paranoid. I mean, could you trust super mutants if they were going on a fucking rampage? I mean, look at them. Look at what they carry. Look at what they can do. They can cause total and complete destruction. So I understand why they're paranoid. Now, on the other hand, you run into a group of super mutants at this base. They are trying to move east, and they hate the super mutant hunters. You can understand why. I mean, these people are trying to kill every single super mutant, whether they did something wrong or not. So if you're backed up against a wall, you're gonna fight back. So the main and side quests are interesting, and the people that worked on this game did a great job with the writing. Let me give you an example. When you go into the super mutant base, you have to talk to a guard, and he's not letting you in at first. The way you communicate with him, you have to communicate with him like a normal super mutant. He's not that intelligent. So it's so awesome to see you talk like a super mutant and try to communicate with him and just try to dumb yourself down in order to communicate with this idiot. And like any good Fallout game, in Fallout 1.5 Ressurection, there are meaningful choices and open dialogue, not tacked on choices thrown in there just to give you an illusion of freedom, but meaningful choices. And there are ways you can fuck up too. Don't get me wrong, you can fuck up in this game when you're talking to people, so pay attention when you read the dialogue, read everything, see all your choices because there are plenty of them, and pay attention most importantly. Don't skim through it and don't rush through it because you'll probably fuck up or get something you don't want. And another thing I have to say, when you go around in the world, when you go to places like Albuquerque, Korath, Sedit, the Rat Hole, this game does feel like the true follow-up to Fallout 2, even though it takes place before Fallout 2, but you know what I mean in terms of gameplay and the story. It just gives you that authentic Fallout experience, and this is a fan mod, but they respect the lore. They know what classic Fallout players want, and they delivered. Now, I'm not saying the story is perfect. I think the weakest part about the story in Fallout 1.5 Ressurection is the main antagonist. Now, I don't think the main antagonist is a bad character, I just think that he should have been a bit more complex. He comes off like your average run-of-the-mill lunatic to me, but you do have an interesting conversation with him, and the lead up to the fight with him, the background, how you get there, is intense, it's engaging, and let me tell you, you want to play it for yourself, and that's why I'm not spoiling it for you. But he should have been a bit more complex. So overall, I think the story in Fallout 1.5 Resurrection is interesting, it's engaging, and it's well done. I have to give my respects to the people that worked on this game. They did an excellent job. And I made sure not to give you any major spoilers because I want you to play this game. And if there is anything I learned from this game, it's how far some will go to get their humanity back and what they lose in the process. Let's talk about gameplay. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about gameplay. This is a total conversion mod for Fallout 2. So if you're familiar with Fallout 1 and 2, and I'm assuming you are because if you're playing this mod, I'm assuming you've played the first two already, then you should have no problems getting into this game. This is a turn-based CRPG. In combat, you take turns and you use your AP, which is called action points. You have traits, you have perks, and you have skills, and you use the special system, which makes your character. But there are improvements. This game is less buggy than Fallout 1 and 2. And I'm just letting you know, this game is tough. This game has the classic CRPG formula, and you should expect nothing less. And it seems impossible at first, but as you go through the game, it slowly unravels and it gets a bit easier. Still, this game is very challenging. There were some fights where I never thought I would beat it. And this game reminds me of Fallout 2, because in Fallout 2, I would get jumped by the Enclave, and I'd get jumped by like 6 of those motherfuckers, and they were in power armor, and it just seemed impossible. And I had a couple of those moments in this game. I would get into a fight with a lot of powerful enemies with powerful equipment, and that's why it reminds me of Fallout 2. Now, about the English translation, they did a great job. I only ran into a couple, and I mean a couple of problems, and it was very minor. For example, I was talking to one of the caravan leaders and said it, and at the end of the sentence, one of the words had an extra A, and you know what the word was, but they added an extra A, so that was a mistranslation, but still, it's very minor. I had no problems understanding what they were saying. Let's talk about sound and atmosphere. Now, I've praised the story in Fallout 1.5 Resurrection, but if you don't have good atmosphere, then what's the point, right? I'm happy to say that Fallout 1.5 Resurrection has great atmosphere. When you look at places like Albuquerque, the Rat Hole, Sedit, or Korath, this is the authentic Fallout experience, and these areas feel unique. When you're in Albuquerque, you'll experience some dark, crazy shit. When you're in the Rat Hole, you'll see two sides of a town fighting each other, and when you go into one of the shopkeepers, he's so paranoid that just you walking in there makes him go nuts, and you're just this close from being attacked. Or you go into Korath, and you see a super mutant and human fighting to the death over an issue. That's how they settle things in that town. This is what Fallout is about. So if you play this game, I encourage you to explore every town and try to do every side quest possible. And another thing that I have to give props to the team for is how they've managed to make this feel like its own unique game. They're using assets from the original Fallout game, but the story, the characters, the writing, and how they place everything, this feels like its own standalone game, and that is something that I have to give a lot of respect to the team for. And yes, there are special encounters. I ran into this funny one where I ran into a group of people that were trying to get this portal to work. I killed them and I took their stuff. Of course, who wouldn't do that? Now, with sound, you're going to hear tracks from Fallout 1 and 2, like the MODOK theme in New Hope, or the Necropolis theme you hear in some fights. It's not a huge deal, it's only a minor flaw, a tiny flaw, because I enjoyed the music in the original Fallout games, and they put them in the right areas, but I wish there were more original music that they made, or they could have gotten someone else, or they bought it, whatever. I wish that every town had their own unique theme. Some do. You do hear some original music, and I enjoyed it, but you're going to hear tracks from the original Fallout games. It's not a huge setback, but still, I wish I could have heard more original composition. Now, I definitely recommend Fallout 1.5 Ressurection. If you're a fan of the original Fallout games, you like the modern ones, you like the lore, if you're any type of Fallout fan, play this fucking mod. This total conversion mod took 10 years to complete, and they released it in English, and they patched it too. This is a project of passion, of love for the series. These people are fans, and they did a fantastic job with this game. This feels like a standalone Fallout game. That's how good it is. It's not perfect, I told you some flaws, but no game is. But you should definitely check this out. It's free, it's easy to play, you don't need a fancy computer. There's no reason not to try this game if you're a Fallout fan. Thank you for watching another episode. Let me know what you think about this game. Leave a comment, you can message me on Twitter, you know how to get in contact with me. Have a great day.